Gig Harbor is one of the most misleading Google search results of any town in Western Washington. Search it right now and you'll get sunset photos of a marina, maybe a gondola ride, and a floating restaurant. What you won't find is a single photo of what Tuesday morning actually looks like here, or whether the town you're picturing is the town you'd actually moving your life into. I'm going to give you that Tuesday morning, not a postcard, the real one. All right, so if you're relocating to Western Washington, maybe you're downsizing out of a bigger market or looking at Gig Harbor as an investment play in the 500K to 3 million range, this video is your context check before you spend a weekend touring homes here. Here's the common belief, and I hear it on nearly every buyer call. Gig Harbor is a cute little tourist stop you drive through on your way to somewhere else. All boats and brunch, no real substance, priced for people who don't need to think about resale. All right, so here is the contrast. That take is probably about, 8 years out of date, and it's costing people either a really bad decision or a missed one. This town has quietly become one of the more strategically interesting markets on the South Sound. And it's not because it got discovered, but because the growth that made everyone nervous about it has already totally leveled off, and almost nobody talks about what that means for people moving here now. So why trust me over some travel blog? Well, because I work in this exact market at this exact price and with the exact people this video is for. So I work with relocators, downsizers, medical professionals coming into St. Anthony, into the Franciscan system, and we've got military families and tons of investors are starting to come here. I'm not describing a vacation. I'm describing what my clients tell me 6 months after they've closed. All right, guys, so here's the plan for the next 20 some odd minutes. I'm gonna walk you through 6 things. I want you to stay with me. We're gonna talk about daily life in Gig Harbor, the pace here, what our water culture looks like, the outdoors, what our community itself is like, and then the one honest question that agents won't ask you out loud: who is this community for and who is it not for? So stay through that last one because it's the part that will save you money. I'm honest, I will tell you up front what it's about. Let's start with a number that changes how you should be thinking about this entire market. Between 2014 and 2016, Gig Harbor's population was growing at over 7% a year. Now, that kind of growth, that makes locals extremely anxious, and buyers assume they're walking into a bidding war forever. Today, that number sits at roughly 1% annually. So the city proper is home to just under about 13,000 people, small on paper, but we've got the Greater Peninsula, including Willotchett, Artendale, Cannerwood, and Purdy, and that carries a lot more of the day-to-day population than incorporated city limits itself. So just know those numbers are downtown only. So what that slowdown means in praxis is home values here have essentially gone flat over the past year. We have no dramatic run-ups, no corrections either. So if you're an investor and you're looking at this, that's not a red flag. That's a market that stopped overheating and started just behaving. So if you're a relocator worried about you've missed out, well, you haven't. You've just missed the version of Gig Harbor that was speculative. What's left is the version that is pretty much stable at this point. This matters because most people are evaluating a town off of vibe alone. Charming, so it must be expensive, and getting more and more expensive every single day. Well, that's not what the data says right now. And it changes your negotiating posture, your timeline, and honestly, your stress level walking into this. Now, let's talk about what it actually feels like to live here on maybe a random Tuesday, because that's the part nobody's filming. Gig Harbor really runs on 2 completely different clocks. Weekends, especially May through September, trust me, downtown gets busy. Harborview Drive, it fills in. Floating docks at the Tides Tavern, you gotta wait out there. People are coming down to serve you on your boat. The gondolas are running full trips back and forth. Weekdays are a totally different thing here entirely. We've got quiet mornings, short lines at most places, and the neighbors who actually know each other by names are coming outside and actually feeling refreshed that there's not somebody walking by every second. If you're picturing your daily life here, picture the Tuesday, not the Saturday. That's the version you'll actually live in 5 days out of the 7. So we got school drop-off is unhurried. The commute across the Narrows Bridge in Tacoma runs against traffic in the morning, which is the opposite of what most people are probably assuming here. So errands around here are taking us about 15 minutes, not 45. This is exactly why vibe videos mislead people. They're almost always filled on a Saturday in the middle of July. Now, if you buy expecting that energy every day, you'll be sadly disappointed here. If you buy understanding the split, that you get a town that feels like a getaway on weekends and it feels like a home the rest of the time. That's the actual selling point that I give my clients. That's the one that nobody is really putting out there plainly on a video. So here's where most content about this town gets it completely backward. Tourism content here treats the harbor like it's scenery. It's a pretty backdrop for a restaurant photo or something. It's not scenery here at all. So Gig Harbor was actually built by Croatian and Scandinavian fishing families in the 1880s. And that maritime identity never left. It's still here. It's just changed its shape a bit. The Harbor History Museum and the restored Scansey Brothers Boathouse aren't tourist stops. They're the town explaining itself to you, and they're very active still. So what does this look like day to day? Well, there are working fishing vessels here. They share the waters with all the kayakers going back and forth, all the pleasure boaters. Boat culture here is an actual true social infrastructure at Gig Harbor. It's how people are meeting each other here, and it's how our kids grew up. It's how retirement looks like for a huge share of the residents. If you're not a boat person, I am, that's fine, but understand that the town's rhythm is still set by water, even from the dry land. So why does this matter for you? Well, if you're trying to relocate for lifestyle, this is the difference between waterfront view and truly a waterfront identity. One's a feature, and guess what? The other one is an actual reason people are moving here and they don't leave. Investors, take note, because that identity is exactly what protects long-term value in a market like this one. It's not reciprocal. All right, quick pause, because I get one question constantly from people watching my videos like this from out of state. And they say, okay, but where do I even start, Lianne? You're 3 points into understanding the vibe, and you still don't know which neighborhood fits your budget, whether you need to see it in person first, or what the actual moving logistics might look like for a Western Washington specifically move here. All right, so that's exactly why I put together my Western Washington relocation guide. It's totally free. There's a link in my bio, there's a link below, and it walks you through all of the neighborhoods here. It's going to tell you about price bands, schools, which are very important to a lot of people, and the logistics that most people don't think about until they're already stressed out. So grab it before you keep watching, or grab it right after. Either way, don't tour a single home here without it. All right, so let's get back to the town itself, because the water's only half the story here. The other half is pretty much everything else around here. So Penmet Park manages about 21 parks across the peninsula. It's anchored by the Cushman Trail, which we have. And the Cushman Trail is a 6.2-mile paved path that connects most of our residential areas without ever touching a main road. That's amazing. And then we've got Kopachuk State Park, and that gives you more of a, I don't know, forested saltwater beach and boat launch feel, and it's about 15 minutes from downtown. In praxis, this means outdoor access is not a weekend project for us. Trust me, we build this into our commutes. So for instance, might walk the dog before work on the Cushman Trail. Or for those of us that are kayakers, we go after work on a Wednesday. And for those of you that like to get a good workout, there's an area called the Finholm Stairs. They're in downtown Gig Harbor. You can go to the very top of them and you get this amazing sunset view without having to get in your car and drive anywhere. So this removes the friction that usually keeps get outside more for people as a New Year's resolution instead of a Tuesday habit. So this is a bigger deal than it actually sounds for one specific reason. It's one of the few things that actually holds up in daily life exactly the way you're seeing it on those marketing photos. Most towns oversell their outdoor access. Gig Harbor, we actually undersell it. If you're wondering whether there's an actual community here or it's just a tourist economy that's attached to houses, this is your answer. All right, so our event calendar here in Gig Harbor, it's running all 4 seasons and it is locally run. It's not manufactured for tourism. It is for us, for our children, for our families here. So here's how it lays out. All right, so here's how it kicks off. In spring, we start with Chowder Fest. We love a good chowder here. And in that same time period, why not? Let's do Restaurant Week. Summer is the marquee stretch. So we've got the Maritime Gig Festival in June. What happens here is we've got Summer Sounds on a Tuesday night. And what that is we've got free outdoor concerts right there down on the water. Then we've got Chalk the Harbor in August. And then fall. Fall brings in what we call Open Studio Tour. And this is where working local artists open up their studios. October, we've got the Scarecrow Festival. And then winter closes it out with our Christmas tree lighting. It's gorgeous. We've got this great tree in downtown Gig Harbor. One that people don't expect, we have a lighted boat parade, where the same working boats you saw fishing all summer, well, they get all strung out with lights here and they cruise the harbor after dark. Same with those of us that own boats, we try to fit in between them. And we got one more fun thing. We've got the lighted car parade. That follows up at the end of the week there. So the Waterfront Farmers Market is another great thing. We're running that every Thursday in the summer. What else do we got? May through August, and its residents, not tourists, are filling these things up. All right, so the boat parade alone should tell you everything about this town. It's not decoration. I'm trying to get this across. It's the actual vibe. The fishing fleet are out there and they're putting on a show for our community. Full circle back to what we said about the harbor being identity, not a backdrop. Well, people here aren't just passing through. They're building a life around a genuine local identity, art, food, music, tradition. This has existed before we had Instagram, before Instagram started putting those lovely downtown Gig Harbor shots, and it'll keep going after. So add in the Peninsula School District, which constantly ranks as a draw for families relocating specifically for education. And you've got a town with real infrastructure stability underneath this charm. This is a piece that separates cute for a weekend from, wow, this might be worth relocating. A calendar this full, run by locals, is a leading indicator of what a healthy town should look like, not a trailing one built to attract day trip dollars. All right, here is the part that most agents are gonna skip, and I'm not gonna do it because what they're trying to do is sell you on the charm here, and then they let you find out the rest after you're here. Well, I'm not gonna do that. So Gig Harbor works exceptionally well for 4 specific groups of people. We got the medical professionals, and they're coming in for St. Anthony's, and maybe the broader Virginian Mason Franciscan health system, and you get a short commute and genuinely good quality of life, which matters when your schedule is totally brutal for those in healthcare. Military adjacent families with ties to naval bases like Kitsap or JBLM, the Narrows Bridge puts you within reach of both without living on base. So for many people, they don't want to be on base. Retirees that are downsizing at a bigger, more expensive coastal markets, who want walkability, they want to be on the water, and they are honestly looking for a slower clock without giving up their culture. And for all my investors looking at a market that's stabilized rather than a market that's maybe a bit speculative right now, flat home values right now aren't a warning sign. They're pretty much just an entry point. All right, so here's who it does not work for, and I'd rather tell you now than find out in 3 months. If you need fast, you need direct commute into downtown Seattle every single day of your life, the bridge and the drive time will, trust me, wear you down faster than a scenery makes up for. And if you're chasing for that next big thing, that investment story where you're going to do an Instagram story and be explosive about grabbing, like, I got the best deal here. This is a hold and live well market. This is definitely not a flip market here. All right, so I want you to zoom out right now because this is really the whole point of my video. Gig Harbor isn't universally right or maybe universally wrong. It's specifically right for people whose life and maybe your financial goals match what this town is actually right now, or maybe what it was 8 years ago, or maybe what a thumbnail makes it to look like. I'm giving you a fit check here because it's worth more than me giving you a list of things that you might be able to do here in Gig Harbor. Real vibe. Gig Harbor, It's not the postcard that you're looking at, and it's not a tourist trap either. It's a town whose growth has kind of settled down, whose daily rhythm is quieter than the photos suggest, whose water culture is identity rather than decoration, whose outdoors and community calendar actually deliver on what we promise. And that specifically rewards the right buyer. Trust me, it does. Medical, military, retirees, or maybe even investors at exactly the right price range a lot of you are trying to get into. So that's reality beating expectations. You came in wondering if the charm was real. Well, it is. You just needed someone to tell you which parts and for which people. If you're seriously looking at Gig Harbor or anywhere else in Western Washington, don't start with the home listings, please. Start with the free Western Washington relocation guide I give you for each of the different areas. It's going to tell you the neighborhoods. It's going to tell you prices. That's the things we want to know for sure. It also is going to tell you about schools, but the logistics for an out-of-state move, it's really important. So by the time you start touring, you know exactly if this is the right fit for you or not. And if you want to skip straight to a real conversation, my contact info is on the screen. It's inside the description there. You can call me, you can text me, or just book directly on there. I'll give you the same direct feedback that I always do, not just in a video here, but I am a straight shooter. I'll tell you how it is, and I'll get to know you and tell you if it's the right fit for you. If you liked my video, please subscribe for more real, no fluff, real looks at Western Washington living. Gig Harbor, Tacoma, Port Orchard, and everywhere in between. I am Lianne Hall with Paramount Real Estate Group. I've enjoyed having you today. Please stay tuned for more information. Can't wait to see you in the next one.